After testing literally every single camera cage on the market for the S5 II and the S5 IIX, I think I found my favorite one, and that's what I want to talk to you guys today about because that's what I do. I make videos about this stuff. What do you expect? But this cage is far from being just a camera cage, and in fact it has its own proprietary accessory system which you can use with your support equipment and actually make rigging and de-rigging so much quicker. So definitely stick around because I'll be telling you a little bit more about that as well in this video. Of course, what I'm talking about now is actually the Falcam F22 sort of system. Now there's many reasons as to why I actually prefer this cage over the tilt cages and the smaller cages that I've tried, as well as the one really random Sure cage I also tried as well. But most of it comes down to the fact that it just works really well with all of the different sort of support equipment that I use. The F22 system from Falcam is this really clever little quick release system with, let me try and find if I can see one. Don't know if you guys can see that, but this little plate here, this is one of the little quick release plates, and basically you can rig every single thing up in your kit just using these little squares. It's really great. It means you can attach accessories, either, you know, grip accessories or actual accessories like, let's say, screens, monitors, microphones, all that sort of stuff. You can just put one of those little squares on there and you'll be absolutely fine. You'll be set to go. So for the most part, the tilt cages are fantastic. They're built extremely well. You know, they're very nicely machined. They fit the cameras fantastically and they're quite snug in the hand. I actually do really enjoy using the half cage still, and I do use the full cage from time to time as well with the S5 IIX. But there's two issues with those cages that just get on my nerves quite a lot. And one of them is that they don't stand up when they have a lens attached. So what I mean by that is that when you put your camera down, let's say for example, the whole camera will sort of flop forward, you know, due to the weight of the lens, meaning the actual base of the cage isn't doing a good job of distributing the weight backwards so that, you know, the camera just stays nice and flat on the desk. Whereas the Falcam F22 cage for the S5 II and the S5 IIX doesn't have that issue. So it means that I can actually put my camera down and it will actually sit straight. It won't sort of flop forward, you know, going with a lens sort of thing. And I know it's a really small thing, but realistically it's quite nice, you know, to not have to worry about your camera falling over. And also, I mean, I can be precious at times with my equipment, and I do worry that if I've got a big lens on and it's sort of leaning against the desk, for example, that it might actually put some more unnecessary stress on the mount itself. So yeah, just having a cage that just sort of sits flush when you put it down on the desk sounds like a really simple thing, but I'm sure anyone that uses cages will know what I mean by this. It's just nice to have it just sit down and then not fall over. So yeah, that's one big plus of the Falcam cage over the other ones. So while I'm talking about the cage, I just want to get a bit more into, you know, the actual specifics of it right now. So as you guys can see, I've got this finish or color. It's sort of like slightly bluish, but it's sort of like a grey blue. It looks fantastic. It's really nice. And one thing I do like about it is that actually on the grip, it sort of fits nicely in this sort of recess of the grip here, which means that the actual, you know, gripping experience of this cage is actually really nice. There is another sort of side plate that you can attach to the side of your camera as well. It just secures it in a little bit better instead of just, you know, relying only on that sort of bottom mounting point for the cage. And it works great. There's a few more quarter thread mounting points on that, you know, little sort of slither there as well that you can put on. But I like to, you know, not have it on, if I'm being honest, because I just like to have sort of naked connection with the camera when I'm gripping it. It just feels nicer in the hand for me, more ergonomic. And actually that's one of the reasons why I sort of prefer the half cage from Tilta over the full cage, because when you are using a camera with a cage and you're flipping between photo and video, it gets uncomfortable to hold a camera in its cage. So for anyone that sort of looked at the Falcam stuff, they have different sort of quick release systems or different sort of accessory systems within their lineup. They have the F22, the F50 and the F38. Yeah, so there's actually a plate on the bottom of the camera which is made to sort of suit any of these mounting options. So the F22 size will be here, you have the F30 which is sort of all of it, and then the F50 off to the side here. So what that means is that already attached to the cage of this camera is basically all of the quick release or sort of like mounting plate options that you could ever need with those quick release systems, which is really nice. So that means that essentially if I'm using the F22 system, for example, I can just go ahead and slide this camera in the cage onto any sort of mounting point without needing, you know, to attach an actual mounting plate. So that saves a lot of time and a lot of fiddling on set, and that is of course course a big plus for me. And then another really nice thing about this cage and about Falcam in general is they actually innovated something about the RS3 Mini which I didn't like when I first got it, and that's the fact that it's really hard, if not impossible, to balance when you have your camera in a cage. So what that's meant is that whenever I've been using the S5 II or the S5IIX, for example, I've actually had to take the camera out of the cage so that I can mount it onto the gimbal, because otherwise it would just not balance. It would be too bottom heavy and I couldn't actually get that bottom sled to sort of go down lower. Whereas Falcam have actually made a different quick release system that's specifically for the RS3 Mini to combat that issue, and that is the F38 Quick Release system. So what that essentially does is it's like another bottom sled for your RS3 Mini. It's just slightly different shape, and then you actually have an F38 Quick Release, which means that I can actually pull and pull this camera in the cage on and off the gimbal so quickly because of that, like I was talking about earlier, this sort of mounting point here on the bottom of the cage. And it means that, you know, sort of putting your camera onto the gimbal and taking it off again, balancing, all that sort of stuff becomes so much quicker because of this quick release. And also, more importantly, the RS3 Mini is able to balance this camera in the Falcam F22 cage system, which is actually a massive plus for me because it means that I don't actually have to take the cage off of this camera at all. If I did want to use it on a gimbal or use it handheld, I can just leave it in the cage and it's comfortable to hold, like I said, because of this naked side grip. So yeah, it really does tick all the boxes for me in that instance. And then like another really nice thing about this cage as well is they really have thought about people that want to use their proprietary sort of quick release system, if you like. So the F22, which I've been talking about all the time, that's one that I use. You can just sort of slide this F22 handle on the top here, because it's actually got like a little sort of F22 NATO rail on the top of this cage, and as you can see, extremely snug fit. That is not going anywhere, and I can sort of like set up and tear down a whole rig so quickly because of this. So everything works really well, and as long as you've got enough of those little plates, you can put it on anything. Like I said, you can put it on your shotgun mic that you put on your camera, you can put it on your cage, you can put it on your monitor, you can put it on a side handle, anything like that that you normally use to rig up your camera. Just put those little F22 plates on. They don't, you know, take up much room. They're not uncomfortable to hold, all that sort of stuff. They're not heavy. That's also important. And you can just basically attach and detach everything in a matter of seconds. So it means that for anyone that is always constantly rigging and de-rigging their camera setup, this system really does help for that. And overall, I have to say that the actual build quality of the Falcam accessories for the S5 II and the S5 IIX is incredible. Like, it's all been milled nicely. It looks fantastic. I mean, this handle itself is really, really aesthetically pleasing. And yeah, just overall, the quality of accessories here is extremely nice. And I'd say that for the price point that it's at, it's definitely worthwhile. Yeah, if I'm being honest with you guys, after testing out all of the different cages that I could get my hands on for the S5 II and the S5 IIX, it is the Falcam F22 quick release cage system that wins for me. This is actually the one that I'll be using for the S5 IIX. I'm going to keep the tilt to half cage on my S5 II, which is what I'm filming on currently. Like I said, I just really like that cage. It gives me side mounting options. It gives a little bit of protection and bulks up the camera a little bit, which is nice, but also allows me to have the actual grip of the camera and not feel like it's too bulky in the hand. And like I said right at the start of this video, guys, I do not want to deter you from buying any other accessory that I've raved about here on this channel. So if you guys are interested in hearing about the tilter cages, then you should definitely check out this video so that you can make a more informed decision as to what cage system will be best for you.